Joining me today is Jim Walsh. He's a professor of history at New England College. So, Jim, when we left, sort of the declaration, the draft that got signed on the 4th, and 200 broadsheets were being printed.
Right.
Pick the story up then.
Okay, sure. So Jefferson is at the printer. That draft that he carried to the printer is missing. No one knows whatever happened to it. But 200 original broadsides were printed and then sent around the country. They went to each of the newly independent states, and they went to various important personalities and our ambassadors overseas to let the world know. One was sent to King George, just to let him know that we were clear about this.
And so what did that broadside look like? Is that what we think of as the Declaration of Independence?
Yes, exactly.
And did it start with July 4th, or just was it the language?
Well, it started with the words, in Congress assembled, the representatives of the United Colonies declare independence, blah, blah. And then it starts with the date and then the preamble, right?
And the date on that broadside was the 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they used it because that was the day it was printed. That was the day it was, quote unquote, signed. But there were only a few guys there to sign it. After the vote was taken, everybody left. A few guys signed it. Jefferson rushed it to the printer. Now, that gets printed all over America from that point on. It's the official text, only amended once some years later with the word unanimous. And many of those texts, those reprints, were posted on trees, nailed up on walls all over the colonies. A lot of those end up in England. Every officer worth his salt in the British Army tore one down and mailed it home. So you can find copies popping up in England.
So those copies have got to be for collectors.
Sure.
Historians.
Of the original Dunlop broadside, only 26 are known to exist.
So out of the 200, 26.
Right.
And how many are in the U.S., do you know? Or
25.
Really?
Yes, the 26th was found in 2009 in the archives in London.
Huh. And it must still be there.
It's either the copy that the Congress sent to the king, or it's a copy that some British officer grabbed and sent quickly back to the crown. We don't know which.
Huh. So the language, so we think of the thing with John Hancock's signature, right? Even the king can read this.
Right.
When was that signed? When was that signed?
August the 2nd. They got most of the band back together on August the 2nd in Philadelphia to sign the inevitable original, right? And that one that they signed was handwritten. It wasn't printed. The Dunlop broadsides are all printed, right? So that handwritten, or engrossed, as they like to call it, was produced probably by the clerk of the Congress, a fellow named Timothy Matlack, whose handwriting they liked. And Hancock was the first one to step up and sign it, which is why a lot of your favorite conspiracy theorists will say, who was the real first president of the United States? John Hancock, because he was president of the Continental Congress. And we were calling ourselves the United States of America while he was still president, because we were the Confederation, Articles of Confederation Congress at that point. So some people would, they're always playing that game. They love to ask me when I'm pulling into national park sites, oh, you're a historian? Who was the first president of the United States? Washington. No, it was John Hancock. No, he's not.
So the draft that was taken to Dunlop is lost?
Gone. Nobody knows where it is. It's suspected to have been destroyed in the printing process. Somehow, well, imagine the printing process back then. You've got a type puller who's holding this thing in his hand, and he's trying to pull from California job cases, which they didn't call them back then, but from the job cases, all the little type pieces, and he's setting them into the rule.
Right.
And he's going back and forth, back and forth. His hands are filthy. They're covered with lead. So it gets smeared and grumpy and drungy, and eventually...
And he runs the print, looks at it, sees it's right, and says, I don't need the draft.
I don't need this.
So, all right, we're out of time now. But when we return, we're going to continue our conversation focusing on July 4th, so please stay with us.